Yo, man, what's good? It's your boy Jay Bandit here with another epi for Kush and Coffee podcast, man. Today we got my boy Johnny from Aim Higher, man. What's up, man? How you doing, brother?
Hey, man, I'm doing great, man. I'm really happy to be here.
I appreciate it, man. Appreciate you coming through, chopping it up with me. He brought me a little goodie box, man. He brought me a T-shirt, got me this whole Aim Higher box that he does. You can go ahead and tell people more about what you brought me today.
Yeah, so that's our our edible gift box. Basically, just to kind of give you a sampling of some of the different things that we have the capabilities of doing. In this particular case, infusing flavored syrups or infusing some. What was that me?
Yeah.
Holy crap!
You're good.
My bad. I was like, man,
that's
it's
not
still
me.
played in the background. Okay, cool. So yeah, in this case, infused syrup, flavored syrups that you can use for like your drink, coffee, tea, juice. And then some infused Starburst. In this particular case, I think cherry and watermelon.
Yeah, these are real Starbursts, by the way, people.
Yeah, and so basically, like I've learned to infuse different things because I like being in control of the dosage, right? Like,
Yeah.
One of the first things that I learned as I circulated, throughout different cannabis events and stuff. Not a lot of people know like what the dosage is in their stuff, right? Like you use a calculator and whatnot, and you try to figure it out. And I did that in the beginning too, but then I realized when I actually had access to testing my stuff that the math wasn't mathing at the end, and I was like, how come it's not the same, And then come to learn, like as I make these infusions, the entire process matters, right? Like how much heat, how long it's under this heat, like it'll change the components. Yeah, it'll change, how much THC, or it'll convert it to like CBN, because it's too hot or too long. Yeah. And so like what happens a lot of times, people don't know, and then you're baking something at like, 450 degrees for like, 30 minutes. And then at the end you eat it, and then all it does is knock you out. And you're like, why? It's like, well, because it's all mostly CBN now, right? Like you've already evaporated all the other cannabinoids, terpenes, you've converted. So learning that stuff makes a difference, right?
Yeah. Hell yeah, for sure. I mean, I didn't know nothing about that because there'll be a lot of packages I buy. They'd be like, yeah, it's 200 milligrams. I'm like, how do you know? Like, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And some of them would be the same package, but it'd be like 100 milligrams. Like, how do you know how much is in here? Like, and then there'd be one solid piece, and it'd be like the whole thing is worth 200 milligrams. Like, so if I eat only 10% of it, like, I'm only gonna get, like,
Yeah, well, and then that's the other thing too, right? Because the first time I ever made edibles, bro, I had no clue what I was doing, right? Like somebody just gave me some butter. I was like, all right, just throw it in the recipe. But then the problem is, right, like if you're not using the right like emulsifiers and stuff like that, you make a batch and then one brownie might be 50 milligrams and then the other brownie might be like 5 milligrams. And then that's an issue, right? Because there's a big difference.
Yeah.
But then learning how to make that more balanced throughout your recipe, right? And so, I dedicate a lot of time to learning that, for my own, because the first time my fiance, ate a brownie, she was like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna die." And I was like, "Oh, I don't want you to experience." Yeah.
Was she really?
Yeah, she for real thought she was dead for about 5 minutes,
Because she just fucking stuck on the couch or something?
Yeah, she was like, I think this is my spirit or something like that. I'm like, wow, okay. And this was like her first time kind of like, going through that. And I'm like, no,
edibles or just
with edible, period. Well, period. It was like right around the beginning of like when I started to use it medicinally, like on a regular basis. And she just kind of jumped on board, right? But I was like, I don't want you to have such a bad experience that you're gonna be turned off, right? So let me get a better understanding of what I'm doing here before we do this again.
Yeah. So how did you get all into the cannabis community, man, and creating these boxes and all that? Where did it all start for you?
So this is, I mean, like, I'm not gonna say that this has been like a lifelong passion, because it's not. Like I actually grew up, in the late '80s, mid '80s. I was a dare kid.
Me too.
Said no to drugs.
Say no to drugs.
Yeah, and when as I grew up and my friends started smoking, like I would ostracize those friends, right? Oh no, you're. And then I joined the military, right? And then I doubled down on that ideology in the military. People getting kicked out, you popping positive, like, oh, you're a dirtbag, right? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, you make it look, you look at the branch and look bad or whatever the hell,
Yeah. And I believed, right? I drank the Kool-Aid. I believed all that. But then fast forward, when I get out of the military, I go to get my medical evaluation at the VA. And then like, okay, you need meds for this. And I'm like,
I just started throwing you all these meds.
Bro, I had like 12 different, when my first, set of prescriptions, it was like 12 different medications that I was taking. I'm like, fuck, bro. And I know what that life is like. You know, like my mom has dealt with like medical issues like all of my life. You know, so for as long as I've been born. And I know what that has. You know, my mom is literally fighting for her life right now, not because of what was originally like her ailments, right? It's because of the compounded effect of so many meds over so many years, right? So now it's like, okay, do we give her meds for what's originally her problem, or do we like at the cost of her kidneys or liver, right? And doctors now trying to balance that out, right? And so, you know, but that's what the doctor said, right? Follow doctor's orders, do it, and so that's what I did until one day, it was by luck, bro. It was like I went to a event, like a VFW event in Tinley Park, and then the a medical cannabis organization was there, and they were like,
at the VFW?
Yeah. They were, and they had the doctor there too. He was doing screenings like on the spot.
No shit.
Yeah, and I was like,
what's going on?
Okay, cool. You know, like, you know, if I get a license, you know, I'll feel more comfortable, you know, trying this out. And that's what happened. You know, doctor was like, bro, you got like 10 different reasons why you qualify. So like, just sign right here, pay your fee. And I was like, all right, cool. And not long after that, I got my license, ran to the dispensary. I was like, bought an ounce of something. Because, you know, the other part of being new to it is like not knowing where to go get, you know, from a trusted source, right?
Yeah, that's a big deal nowadays too.
Yeah, so you know, so dispensary it was, right? And I was like, okay, cool. Now I'm legal. I got a card. If anybody catches me, I'm like, doctor said I got to do this, right?
Doctor's orders.
Yeah, and so I did it, you know, and like over time, at first it was just like, oh, you know, it was a different hive or a different buzz rather than from alcohol.
Yeah,
right? And like alcohol is a whole different thing, right? Like I got stories of my life prior to cannabis with regards to alcohol, and how that impacted my life in so many different negative ways, right? Yeah. And so we, you know, bring me back and we'll talk. You know,
like that, I got you.
But with cannabis, I started to realize, like my body started to feel better balanced, right? And so much so to the point that eventually I realized, oh shit, I'm not getting my meds refilled every 30 days or every 45 days, right? It's like,
I'm just gonna go pick up an ounce.
They would just be sitting there, right? And then like as I learned more about cannabis, right? Because obviously I'm kind of an academic. I like to know things. So you know, I started digging, and then like, oh, there's a correlation to this and inflammation and pain and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, you know what? Let me double down on this, you know. Bro. So fast forward to I got out in 2009. Started really taking the meds like by the end of that year. So to today, so what is that, 13, 14 years, right? Now I get 3 meds filled at the VA. Instead of the third, and I don't get them filled like every 30 days. I get them filled maybe 2 or 3 times a year, you know?
Yeah.
And so, and it's because I've learned to utilize cannabis in a way that works for me, right? Yeah. And having made that travel, you know, from the ignorance, right? Like drinking the Kool-Aid to like understanding it better from and not just from a use standpoint, because I'm a cultivator, right? So like I understand these from the very beginnings, right? To everything that goes into making it. Yeah. And the interconnectedness, right, of those ecosystems. There's a lot, bro. There's so many benefits that come from doing it yourself, right? And I'm a huge advocate for that.
Good, because I'm actually going to start trying to cultivate myself too, because I just learned some new shit. I'll tell you about it, but continue. Yeah.
But I'm a huge advocate for that, mainly because like since I've started to understand my body better and the interconnectedness with how I consume things, right? Like like I said, I come from the generation where they gave us the Kool-Aid and they said add sugar and add color and this and that and it'll be good for you.
Yeah, it's good for you. Yeah.
And bro, and I did.
And we did that shit,
bro,
growing up.
So much so to the point where I've created like habits, like really bad habits in consumption, right? Like I'm a sugar junkie. Like I'm addicted to fucking sugar, bro. Yeah. And all of its forms, right? Bread especially. Remember, like they gave us like the food pyramid back in the day, and they said eat all the bread and pasta because that's the foundation for your right. And that's because they were shoving that shit down our throats, bro. And I fucking love bread, bro.
And vegetables are at the bottom.
Bro, I struggle to this day, and even knowing what I know, right? I struggle to try to consume more vegetables, right? Like I struggle to do better in those regards. But not to say that I'm not making improvements.
Right, yeah.
They're just not, where I would like them to be, right? So it's a constant work, right? Because the other part of it is like the convenience of it, right? Like
100%.
They've taken away like the knowledge of being able to do it yourself
At home.
and it's like and so and this is another topic, right? So this is another, and forgive me if I'm jumping like from different topics.
You're good, man.
But my biggest fear with like mass produced cannabis, right, is that they're gonna do with cannabis what they did to apples and oranges and bananas, bro. Because now you can't even, to the point where you can't even trust what you're getting from Jewel or Mariano's or Pete's or anything like that, right? And I feel like what they've done is they've gotten us used to eating this junk for convenience sake. Thank you so much. They've gotten us used to eating garbage essentially, and telling us that it's good for us, and we've given up the knowledge of all that for the convenience of it, and now we're stuck because we're slaves to it. Because like, where else am I gonna get my apples? If I'm not growing, and then who has the time or the space or the resources to make their own apples or bananas or whatever, right? And this is why, like, for me, I feel like at the very least, if you make an effort to, do something yourself, you become on some level self-sufficient, right? And at the real core, right, like the box in the inside, it tells you what aim higher is, right? Yeah. And it's two parts, right? Because on the surface, aim higher means the message that we always get: give 110%, do the best,
be the best,
all of that. For you want to be the greatest of all time in whatever, right? Yeah. That's the message on the surface, right? But there's a trick to that message, right? That message keeps you a slave to whatever the philosophy is or the ideology is, right? Because you always have to give into that to get this unattainable goal, right?
To be this person, to be up top, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but so for me, aim higher really is about going deeper, not externally, but internally, right?
Aim higher inside, yes.
Yeah, because then, regardless of what happens like in your life, right? Regardless of where you might travel or where you might find yourself in a group of friends and family, or isolated all by yourself in an island, you will have something that you've learned to relate with well, because you will never be away from you, right? You can be in a situation where you'll be away from all your loved ones and all the things that you love and all the things that you feel like give your life purpose.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you from experience, I've been in places where you're isolated, all alone, no friends, no family, no communication, bombs falling, bullets flying, and what do you do then, right? What do you do if you can't hang on to that thing that you thought was your whole life, and you start to like assess your actual life and you're like, fuck, there's no depth to me because all of my meaning and all of my purpose is external.
Yep.
But what happens when my heart gets broken by that person that I put all my love and time and dedication into? Now I'm distraught and I have to figure out how to pick up the pieces. Yeah. And granted, there's always going to be, right, change. There's always like some shift and some adjustment that has to be made. But all the more reason why, if you invest and aim higher, like on an internal sense, you'll always be working to get better and work through those things. You'll know how to problem solve for yourself better as opposed to depending on someone else or something else to fill that gap for you, right? Yeah. So it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Like the world, because if you tell that to everybody, they'll be like, "Oh, you're being selfish. Yeah, you're being nah." Yeah. And it's like,
but it's okay to be selfish.
Yeah. Well, in at the core, right? At the core, whatever you think that should come first, right? A lot of times, one of the main ideologies in our life, right, comes from our family, right? Because that's what we're exposed to when we're young and we have no choice. And so family becomes like this big thing, right? But what happens when family betrays you, bro? What happens when and then your whole philosophy then falls apart, because then who do you rely on? What do you rely on? Like, what is your purpose and all that? But if you're investing in yourself, if you're focused on yourself, on your own evolution, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, like if you're investing in yourself, even when that relationship breaks down, you'll know how to repair and build up from
What do you
that
need to do
better.
different? You know?
Yeah, and it looks different for everybody, right? Like I can only share from what my firsthand experience is, but everybody's life experience and access to resources and access to like support systems and stuff like that, like it's different. It varies, right? And my biggest message is, well, stop looking for someone else to give you the answer. Because and it's actually one of the things that caught my attention about your podcast, right? Like you refer to people as like gods, right?
Yeah.
Like gods, like we're our own gods in our own universe and stuff like that, right?
100%.
And it's true. And I don't know to like what depth or to what level like you really understand that, like because damn, bro, I feel like I'm jumping all over.
No, you're
the
good,
place on
dog.
this podcast,
I'm like a therapist. But I listen to everything you said, and I'll jump back into it.
The other thing is like, so at one point in my life, I was actually studying to be like a deacon in the church, right? And I grew up in a Methodist church, and I was like real big on like understanding the faith, the religion, right? And then as I got older, like I needed a comparison, right? So then it was like, okay, let me not just study just Christianity, right? Like let me learn a little
Venture
bit.
out, yeah.
Yeah, let me read the Quran, the Talmud.
Likewise, same shit.
Right? And then even like learning about mythologies, right? Greek, Roman,
Same shit.
Persian,
Yeah.
right? And so there's like this interconnect, and then my life experiences, right? So fast forward, I'm not, I wouldn't say like a atheist per se, right? Because I understand the interconnectedness of life, like from a base level, right?
Yeah.
Like I've literally seen from a seed to bearing fruit. And I understand the interconnectedness of the microbiome, right? Like in the soil and dirt, and how all those things work together, right?
To make this thing a beautiful plant.
Right? Like where once upon a time where you would see a spider, and my wife, like I refer to her as my wife. So legally, she's my fiance. I refer to her as my wife. We should have been married before the pandemic. A lot of explanation, to go on there. But whatever. So like if I jump back and forth, I mean, I'm referring to Monica. I'm referring, but she like scream, "Hey, come kill the spider!" And kill the spider. And now she screams, I'm like, "Hold on, let me get a cup. I could use this guy." Because I got, some gnats or whatever that they could come, take care of.
Take care of them for you?
I bring them over there, they do that.
The understanding of life, man.
Yeah, bro. So understanding, but it opens up, like, when you start really asking the question, digging deeper, right? Like, you start to see the connections, right?
Of everything.
Yeah. So by no means am I saying, like, I don't believe that there is something that connects us all. But specifically, like, what you refer to, like, us as gods, right? Yeah. Because even from like a religious standpoint or like a spiritual standpoint, we tend to look for someone else to give us an explanation of what that's supposed to look like, right? Like that deity or those rules or the dogma or the doctrine or whatever it is, right? But even if you were to just say, you know what, I'm gonna search for this internally, right? Because if we stem from the same origin, right, from the same creation, right? Then there's a piece of that in us, right? And then that piece that you refer to as like we are gods, right? If we search for that and if we get closer to that, then that's really closer to God or to the deity or to the core, right? Than searching for it externally based on what somebody else is interpreting for them based on their experiences and their resources and their life and stuff like that.
That's why you talked on like about the food and shit too, man. And it's like becoming self-efficient with our food. That's what I'm in the progress of doing now. You know what I'm saying? So I became a gardener like 5 years ago. So I started cultivating my own garden at home, saying tomatoes, shit that we eat all the time, cucumbers, just small shit. Now I got added 3 more flower beds. So now my garden's growing. I looked at my wife the other day and I was just like, I'm gonna grow a lot of food this year. And you're talking about growing your own apple trees and pear trees. All you gotta do is plant one in your backyard. You started. You know what I'm saying? Just like you take care of your cannabis plants. It's the same way. And I got pear tree in the backyard now. So it's like my 8th year of having it. So now last year I produced my biggest fruits since I had the tree. So it was pretty exciting last year, but it was a little heartbreaking because I let a lot of it go to waste because I didn't know how to can it, jar it, or anything like preserve it or anything like that. So that's another big step that I'm taking this year, knowledging myself on that. Because if I can harvest enough to get us through the winter time, I'll be fucking excited. You know what I'm saying? And if not, keep us a little more. So for coming to spring without really going out there to the fast food restaurants and eating all this garbage. And we're only taught this way to eat. We weren't, you know what I'm saying? That's why it's so convenient and hard for us to learn these new ways of understanding the knowledge that we gain going through this as we get older. Just like you were in the Army, man. You were told orders. You know what I'm saying? You had to follow orders.
Just to clarify, I was in the Air Force.
Oh, Air Force, my bad. I figured Army because you got an Army buddy that made this ashtray, which was the fire ashtray, by the way.
Oh, yes. Shout out to Chris at Veteran Woodworks.
Yeah, man. He's got to come. I got to holler at him. He's going to make me one soon.
Yeah, he's got.
I got your number, Chris. I'm going to give you a call, man. He didn't give it to me yet, but I'm going to get it. And then to that factor of understanding, like, man, I took a big spiritual trip, right? I took like 17 grams of mushrooms, and it brought me to that, like, to the source, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that's where I came to the understanding that we are all gods in our own universe, and we dictate how we create this universe that we want to live in. You know what I'm saying? We are an image of God, so therefore we are gods. You know what I'm saying? And then you think about the universes that live within us. You talked about microorganisms and shit like that. You know, the small stuff. You figure about our body, our veins, our muscles, our tendons, our nervous system that runs through our body. Then you go deeper within that, smaller cells, cellular, your heart, your white blood cells, your red blood cells. You know, all the shit that makes your brain go. All the electrical fine of your brain, like how it's just a whole universe within a universe in a universe. You know, going down to microscopic levels, like small levels, and you think about all the shit that goes inside of our body. Plus, what are we connected to out here? Like, what is our sole purpose here on this planet? Like, you know what I mean? So you think about the vast universe. Like, it's just us. Are we inside? Are we one of those microorganism cells living in God's body? You know what I'm saying? Like, within the body of a body. You know. So it's like the things that I experience, man, in life and understanding, like, our obligation is only to uplift each other as like a unified people. We're supposed to come together. That's, as you see, everybody's just being like, everybody loves to hate more than they do support. You know what I'm saying? Like my guy, Two Official, he talked about this. It takes more energy to hate on people than it does to support, because support is free. You know, for hating, you got to actually think about it. You got to, you know what I'm saying? You got to put effort into it. You got to spread the word and talk about, put my name in your mouth. You know, that's kind of crazy. It gets back to just being a good human being, man. It's not hard, you know what I'm saying? But people make it just harder than that.
Well, and I think I was having this conversation with someone recently. The other part of it is, right, like, if I want to inspire you, right, to do better, then I'm going to do it by just doing me, you know? Because if I'm right, and my way is a way to evolve, to do better, then you'll be infected by that, right?
Yep.
Like, it will inspire you. And I'm not saying, it's going to change your whole life, but, like, at least a portion, or at least it'll give you a different perspective, right?
That you never seen before.
It'll challenge you to think differently, right? Because ultimately that's my hope, right? Is that whatever it is that I'm doing, or however I move with Mojos or with Aim Higher, is that I'll inspire you or challenge you to think differently. My life experiences, it's very vast, and not necessarily because I'm better or made better choices, to be honest, like, just because I've been lucky. Like, and
Me too, bro.
And I know lucky, like, I know, you know, people say, oh no, there's no luck, there's this, that, no, and yes, there is, absolutely, there 100%, because when you live where I lived for a greater part of a year, and you're getting bombed and shot at on a regular basis, those bombs
come back from that. You know?
Those bombs are it's all about luck.
And it's meant, those bombs are sent for you. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no other, there's no other reason why those bombs are there, is because they're sent for you. Those bullets are flying at you because you're there. You know what I'm saying? They're aiming at you. You know what I'm saying?
But you know how clearly I understand luck, bro? I'll even give you one particular instance. It's probably the most, like, clear instance of luck, right? So what I did, part of what I did when I was deployed was I did convoy security for the Army. So whenever they would go on routes, supply routes, we were the gun trucks. So I was a M249 gunner. And so we would be attached to their convoys to supply security. So we weren't always with the same unit. We would go with different units. Our unit was the security unit, right? And then we would go out in like rows of chalks, they call them, right? And each chalk had about like 15, 20 trucks. And then each convoy would have about 4 or so chalks. And the gap in between each chalk was usually about like 10 or 15 minutes. And that was mainly like in case you ran into trouble, something happened, the other chalks could take an alternate route or whatever. And on this particular convoy, I was assigned to the first chalk. So I was going to be the first ones out.
I thought they were there. My bad. Go ahead. The chalks.
Yeah, and I was assigned to the first chalk. And, you know, I get settled and something ended up happening where there was a change, like a last minute change, you know, like somebody.
And you didn't go on that convoy?
So they moved me, right? They were like, oh, you know, or it had something to do with the type of gun that they wanted in that particular position or whatever. And they wanted me in a different spot, right?
Yeah.
And so they moved me and I was like, okay, whatever. But it's annoying because I had to take all my gear. I'm like, fuck, bro. I was already like settled and ready to go.
Pissed off, now you had to go do all this shit all over again.
Bro, mad as hell, cursing everybody up and down. Fucking the army's so unorganized, man. Fucking blah, blah, blah. I was, so I'm moving and I'm not even done getting settled into the other truck. But that first chalk, you know, took off. Maybe about 10 or 15 minutes later, before that second chalk took off, we heard on the radio, you know, that they ran into like IED, they were on their tag, da, da, da. And, you know, fortunately, nobody ended up getting hurt, right? We ended up losing, I think, like 2 vehicles, and but nobody got like seriously injured. And not to say that things would have been different had I been there, but
that was the truck you were in?
That was well, I don't know. No, it wasn't any of the gun trucks that were damaged. So, but still, you know, to be there at that moment, bro, and have that change happen like that, that's luck, bro. That's nothing else but luck, bro.
And then you're over here pissing about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck.
Yeah, and it's kind of like with life, man. Sometimes we go through some shit, and it's like, fuck, bro, this is what I wanted, and ta-da. But I've learned, you know what, just go with it sometimes, bro. Like sometimes we fight it so hard.
Yep. And then shit comes worse.
Yeah.
When you see, that's what we talked about this off mic when we talk about manifestation, understanding how we speak to our, you know what I'm saying, to our people, and like just thinking shit subconsciously can change and alter your reality now, because that's what you're putting out to the universe. That's why it's important to understand how subconsciously, like, you go through those thoughts, you create those thoughts in your head, not nobody else. Nobody puts that shit in your head. You create that shit in your own mind. You come up with their own thought. Every thought that you come through it. You come up with the idea, not nobody else. You know.
Well, part of it is influenced through your environment, right?
Yeah, that's
so part
true.
of it, and so this is, and this is kind of like another kind of correlation to like growing and life, right?
Yep.
Is that very recently, actually, I had an interaction with somebody, and they gave me like a seed, right? And you know, they had it in their hand, they pull it, and when I handle seeds, like I handle them like, because I know that every influence to that will have an impact on what I'm growing, right?
From the seed to the matured plant.
Yeah.
Right?
And so the same
Speak
thing.
about it, man.
Same thing in life, like we forget that the environmental impact that we have, like on our kids, right?
Yep.
Like on
Speak
our
about it.
pets, on all of that matters. But we get caught up, right? We get caught up in the life that we're told, hey, you should be doing X, Y, and Z by the time you reach this age. You should be doing this or that according to your life philosophy or your religion or your this or your that. Your family needs you to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like we're so busy trying to please everybody else that we forget that, hey, look, let's work on
ourselves.
On ourselves, right? Because I was a product of that, right? Like I reached a point in my life where I was like, damn, bro, I've been trying so hard to meet everybody's expectations, right? My whole life, right? From meet my parents' expectations, my teachers' expectations, the pastor's expectations, but never really took the time to figure out what my expectations are for me and of me, right? Because that could be totally different from what everybody else wants from
For you. Yep.
Yeah, and I tried to play a role for a long time until it like all blew up in my face. And granted, I made those decisions, kind of like how you're saying, right? Like you allow, right? You will either allow the things to happen or you will stop it, and you'll say,
change
no,
it.
hey, this is gonna be different, right? And a big part of that is the accountability, right?
Yep. Big con.
Right?
Yep.
Because a lot of us don't want to admit.
Yep. 100%.
Right? Like, and I get it because I'm a
Same
lot of
way.
us. I'm a lot of us.
We're all human, bro.
Yeah, I'm a lot of us, and I lived that life, and not until like after probably one of the most crushing times of my life, did I really understand that, hey, maybe part of the reason why all this blew up in your face is because you haven't been tending to you, right? Like you haven't been tending, and you're trying to keep up this facade for everybody else, right?
Yep.
And admitting that, right? Like, and then saying, okay, well, what do I do from here, right? Like, am I just gonna say, damn, I fucked up, whatever portion of my life, and I'm not gonna like grow from here? No, it's like you start like being honest with yourself, and I feel like it's the same with a lot of relationships, right? We start off relationships, whether they're romantic relationships or friendships or business relationships, like putting like this, like, hey, look, everything's perfect, no problems. I got all your answers right here. But then when you get into it and you start to be honest with yourself and say, hey, well, I have these limits, or I these are my weaknesses.
Yeah.
And if you approach it that way from the beginning, then you give your partner or you give the person you're relating to an opportunity to either help you kind of grow from there or to say, hey, you know what? This isn't what I want to deal with. And you're honest from the very front instead of pretending for X amount of years, right? And I've learned that now, right? Like, but I went through a lot of like shit to learn it now as intimately as I know it. Like in part was like my military career like hit a wall because of my alcohol consumption at the time, right? And then also because of my alcohol. Well, no, not entirely because of my alcohol, because then I'm using that as a scapegoat.
Yeah.
But my marriage also suffered, right, and a lot because of decisions that I made, and eventually fell apart, and eventually led to like a lot of other problems, going through like a real ugly divorce and stuff like that, right? But all of that to eventually, be at rock bottom, right, and like really know what fucking rock bottom is, bro. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and to like travel to some really dark places, in your mind and in your heart. And sometimes people don't come back from that, and again,
it's a big problem right here in America now, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Depression and all the anxiety and, a lot of people taking their own lives right now because a simple conversation like this, man, that's why it's important for like us as men too to have more conferences as men, to sit down and discuss things that we can relate to our experience to, because I can't experience any of that you went through it over there, or whatever trauma you got from going over there and fighting the war, all that bullets flying. But I got hood trauma that, I'm saying, it's not similar, but getting shot at and shit in the hood and fucking being a kid, running for your fucking life, and and then seeing the shit that you grew up around your family and the shit that your family showing you, and the influences from that. And it's like we all deal with it, and that's why it's good for us to come together and have these. That's like another reason why I started this podcast, man, because I was like like a social introvert, bro. I might not look like it, you know what I'm saying, but I couldn't relate to people, you know what I'm saying. It's just that because I always felt like I was different, you know what I'm saying, in my own way. So it was just like, and then me creating this podcast, and my wife is like, "This is perfect for you because you don't know how to shut the fuck up anyway."
Hey, mine's been telling me the same thing, and kind of like why I'm here, right? Like I've never really done this like on any real level, like even social media as a whole is brand new. Like literally, the closest to being under the rock, living under a rock, with regards to social media, like that's me. And let me explain to you why. So my last before these previous 2 years. So let me preface that with that. Like in the last 2 years, I've learned because of my business, right? But before that, my last real interaction with social media was like MySpace. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
And that was because I was just learning it and I liked it because you could do like some coding and stuff with it. So that was fun to me. But right around that time was when I joined the Air Force. And then, so I joined the Air Force. I left in February of 2001 to boot camp. And then.
That's the year following after 9/11, huh?
Before.
Or before 9/11.
Yeah. So actually, when 9/11 happened, I got to my first duty station at Aviano Air Base in Italy in July of 2001. And so I hadn't even started my training because our trainer was coming from another base. So the previous trainer had left and the new trainer was coming like in August. So they got there in August. And then September 11th happened.
Damn.
And yeah, and like when I got tasked for my first deployment right after September 11th, they canceled me from that deployment because I had no training record, like nothing signed off on my training record.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so they took me off of that deployment, and so I ended up working like cargo and personnel deployment. So when we were going to Afghanistan, like the 101st Airborne, they came through Aviano, and we deployed them, like their cargo and stuff.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's what. Anyway, I don't know why did we start this?
When you started the Air Force,
yeah. So I joined, and so because of that, so I was overseas, and as soon as 9/11 happened, they're like nobody on social media because you're overseas, you become a target. People know where you're at. Don't let nobody know how you move. So in my brain, social media became hell nah. I'm out here with my wife and my daughter, and like. Bro, hell no, nobody's gonna know where I'm at,
what I'm doing.
Yeah, and so my first, 4.5, almost 5 years, I was overseas.
So you didn't fucking get on social media at all. So it's like,
no.
And see, that's a big thing too, because man, I broke my phone like 7 months ago, I think it was. I just recently got it back, and it was like 7 months before I got a phone back, and everybody was tripping out on me, like society, bro. Like, how do you not have a phone? Like, why does it bother you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like. To get back in those 7 months of not having a phone, bro, and realizing like the reality that we live in, like we take for granted every fucking day and we miss every fucking day. Like my little girls, man, like I got 3 girls at home now. This is the reason why I kind of want to because I've been doing this shit for like 13 years. The podcast has been started in 2019, like the end of COVID, the beginning of COVID. Okay. That's the whole reason why this shit started. And then once I started, I was like, man, this is kind of cool. Me and my cousin, he's the editor for Straight Focus Films, my other business. And then, I was like, we should just create a podcast called Kush and Coffee because we used to call it every morning, and we'll smoke some weed and drink some coffee together and discuss whatever we're gonna go over the video. And he's like, dude, that's fucking dope. We should. And then he's the band guy over here. I told you he's in the band over here.
One that
yeah. So it was me and him, man. And we started, and that was it, man. It's just like, and then social media for me was just like. To get back your life from that break of like the 7 months of social media, bro. Like for you, it was 4 years, and you come back, and you're just like a dude coming out of prison, like type shit, like getting involved, like a culture shock. You're like, what the fuck's going on here? There's a Facebook. What the fuck's Facebook?
Bro, yeah. And so that's how. Look, when I came back, like to civilization, because my next assignment after I was overseas, I was a recruiter. I was actually a recruiter here on the south side of Chicago. My office was on 87th and Cottage.
No shit.
And so, I jumped on social media for a little bit
just to promote,
try to
like recruit and shit.
Well, no, really it was to like reconnect with like friends, because like it was like I've been gone, I've been overseas for so long, and I hadn't been in communication with a lot of my friends. But then, after having been to war and then seeing some like, bro, social media is bullshit. I got like there's more important things, and I bro, fuck this shit, So I stayed off of it, and that was really from that point forward. That was my relationship with social media. I was like, it's just a bunch of bullshit. I don't need it,
Now it's even worse.
And so
we'll get into that too.
So it's been hard. Yeah, so it's been harder for me to kind of, and I've had to learn like all the rules. Like even right now, my Instagram. I only really run an Instagram because I don't have the capacity to learn the other platforms. I want to, and that's my goal, right? Is to find somebody, a partner that could that's good at it, right? So I don't have to learn it because just learning Instagram is a headache enough.
100%.
And yeah, and so come to find out that ever since basically day one of my account's been like shadow banned, and that's why like my reach is limited and this and that. So it's a lot. It's a lot to learn, right? And so
Shadow ban for the shit that you've been posting?
yeah, because
That's crazy, right?
yeah, because of all the plants,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
plants that I post,
And you're in a legal state that you're allowed to grow your plants.
yeah. Well, I mean, yes, to a degree, right? Like I'm a medical patient, and so
Okay.
like as a medical patient, I'm allowed to grow.
Yeah.
But I have opinions about that too, right? Like, don't. Yeah, with the state, bro. I mean, right? Like,
As far as what is cultivating that many plants, or how
no,
many
about
plants?
just letting people just fucking grow their own shit, bro.
Yeah.
Right? Like the same way you let a motherfucker grow a tomato, let a motherfucker grow some Kush, bro. Like,
Bro.
and I feel like they're missing the whole point of it, right? And I get it. It's a business. It's capitalism. It does what it does, bro. But we've seen it in every other industry that once you make it all about the money, the quality of the product goes down. The people that suffer are the consumers. You're not really giving people options because you're saying, oh no, you can only get it at X, Y, and Z spot.
Yeah.
And bro, so
Getting to that real quick. So there's all these Chinese nationalists in Oklahoma. I don't know if you heard anything about this, but this is like real fucking shit going down right now in the cannabis community. So all these, you heard about all the migrants, right, coming across the border, and a lot of them have been Chinese. A lot. There's been over like 2.3 million Chinese people that have come across the border since like last year or some shit like that.
okay.
And they're pouring in by the like bus loads, by the just all Chinese, and supposedly. This is an inside reporter that was on. What the fuck? I can send you the link after this. But he talked. It's like a whole hour. You gotta listen to it. It's like this whole CNN reporter talking about this. Not a CNN reporter, but just some self-efficient fucking reporter talking about the cannabis community.
Okay.
And he gets these dudes that go and investigate all these fucking plants because they bought up a lot of Oklahoma. Oklahoma was the number one consumer in cannabis, like in like revenue. Coming into this, not Colorado, not Cali, fucking Oklahoma. And there's a lot of these companies that are run by Chinese nationalists, man. They got all these migrants coming over here because they're slave to the Chinese communists. You know what I'm saying? They got them all the way over here. So now they're in debt for making that whole trip to come to America. But now you got to come work it off at these weed farms and shit. Okay. Supposedly they're not growing it as clean either. You know what I'm saying? So supposedly they are how can I say, they are flooding the United States with 70% of the cannabis that gets, you know what I'm saying? That's 70%. That's a lot. The 30%ers are like you. You know what I'm saying? So,
But and again, this goes back to like why I say, like learn this fucking skill, right? Like even if at the end of the day, it's not about the cannabis, right? Like learn a skill, right? Yeah. Like, and this is the problem with like capitalism, right? Like the whole idea is like to keep us, a slave to whatever they put out, right? Yeah. It's not like necessarily that they're solving something. They're selling it to us as like, oh, hey, this is convenient. Oh, hey, look, this is regulated. But it's funny when you talk about regulation, right? Because it's like the people that are winning are the people that are involved in making the rules, right? Mm-hmm. And then when anybody else wants to get in the game or if anybody else starts winning, they just change the rules, right?
Change the laws up.
Yeah, and so that's the problem with that, right? And so we're like begging the rule makers to like, hey, let me get some of these like table scraps, right? As opposed to, look, if I'm a good cultivator, then I won't need from you, and my, $200 or $300 a month that I spend at your dispensary is not gonna make or break your fucking bank,
Yep.
But if I'm no good at it, then yeah, I'll have no choice. And I'll realize, hey, look, I'm no good at it and I'm basically at your mercy and whatever, right? But if we're developing skills, right, whether you're growing weed or a tomato or cucumber or whatever, like you become useful, right? Instead of just depending on the convenience of the system, right? Yeah, and because that's the trick, right? The trick is we sell you on convenience to the point where you're inefficient without the conveniences, right?
Yep.
Like you're incapable of doing anything. And I don't know about you, but for me, the biggest like spotlight on that was the pandemic, right? Like basically you found out during the pandemic hey, if I'm cool, if I'm at peace, if I'm doing things right in my life, that's when I realized that what I've been cultivating at my house is my Garden of Eden. It is my paradise.
Yep.
So when I leave my crib, bro, it better be worth it. I'm not leaving my crib and
100%.
I'm gonna tell you, not everything, not everyone is worth it.
Yep.
And if I give up that time, because look, at my crib, I got food, I got love, I got comfort, I got sex, I got, bro, all
Whatever
the
you do.
conveniences that I could want. There's nothing else that I need to chase outside, right? Short of like my food, right? And that's my project for this summer. So I'm gonna be like hitting you up because like I'm working right now on my first project is the compost. Like I started composting.
Yeah, me too this year. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's mainly so that I can kind of move away from the dependence of having to buy it at the right because maybe a supply problem or whatever, right? I at least want to know I have the capability of making my own, right?
And there's a own way to make your own little worm food for your chickens if you start growing chickens.
Oh, no,
Like
yeah, I'm not there yet.
it starts with the compost and shit like that because the black flies they lay larvae and the larvae eat all the compost. It helps mix the compost and you throw the worms in there. But when these things grow out, the black flies go out to try to cocoon. They got to get a high point. So you set up like little tubings on the end of the bins where you stack them at an angle and you just leave a bucket there and they'll fall in the bucket for you. Chicken feed, bro. Protein for your chickens. Little shit.
I'll get there eventually. Yeah.
That's where I'm hoping to get chickens this summer.
Yeah, Monica's sister, she's had chickens for a minute.
Yeah, dog.
They got a nice little hen house back there. And like at first I was like, that's cheap.
Yeah, but
now I'm like, damn, bro, I want one.
just think about like what we were talking about that consumption. Just getting the Chinese activists again. Let me get back on this.
Oh, yes.
That they are. Like I'm saying, but they're selling it at such a cheap rate, but they're using chemical base to keep all these pesticides, and it's not clean like it should be. Supposedly, when you smoke this shit, it turns like the cyanide gases. It's cool when you eat it or consume it, but when you fucking smoke it, now you're changing the gas of it. You know what I'm saying? You're changing it into a gas instead of just whatever it was before. You know what I'm saying? So it like comes into the science and chemistry and all that shit too.
All of that matters.
Yeah.
Like the way it's handled, the way it's processed, right? Like even I was reading a couple of articles. I don't know if the legislation passed or the regulation with regards to like moldy weed or bug infested weed.
Yep.
Like, cause think about it, right? Like when you're growing outdoors,
Yep.
right? I manage my small little 5 plants or whatever, right? And that's a lot of work, like for one person. Imagine if I had acres
field of
and
that shit.
acres of land. There's not enough like human resource to be able to properly, like cultivate. Like even the technology's not there. That's why people still manually pick your strawberries and grapes and stuff like that. The technology's not there to know the difference between something that's ripe and ready to harvest and something right?
Yeah.
Imagine how much more the technology has to advance to understand that within like a plant as opposed to like a fruit that changes color and size and whatnot. But then what happens when it gets infested? You think they're just gonna be like, oh, sorry, we just lost an acre worth of
Or 10 acres of weed.
No, bro, they're trying to come up with their little shortcuts for like, how do we could turn that into oil, right? Because if I sell you a bud with mold or bugs, you can see it. But if I process it, now it's oil and you can't see it. And then what do? Oh, we just pass it through like a little black light, and then that kills all the mold and whatever. And then when it's in your cart and you're smoking it, you don't know the difference, right? Because the FDA said, oh, yeah, it's good. Yeah. Because they were told by the companies, oh, yeah, we've done testing and that black light does enough, or these chemicals do enough to clean it, or whatever. Bro, fuck that shit, bro. I'm tired of that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired of just being told.
Trust it.
Because we've already seen, right? Like, the government has shown their ass, right? Like, if they haven't over the last, 3 or 4
since
or
the
5
pandemic, bro. Like you said, you brought it up. Since the pandemic, if you ain't fucking catch on what the government's been doing or what.
No, but I'm saying even before that. I mean, obviously, we could go back decades of like how much bullshit the government's been stuffing down our throats, right? Yeah. But do it yourself, learn it yourself, and then see the difference, right? Like the difference in smoking something that I grew, that I cultivated, that's fresh, versus something that I'm getting off the shelf at a dispensary. Bro, don't even get me started. Please.
It's cleaner. It's fucking, you know what I'm saying?
And granted, I might be biased because,
Hey, I was a little excited, by the way. I was like, man, is he going to bring me into those buds that he had on his fucking on his Instagram?
Oh, the
Yeah, I thought you were gonna bring me some nuggets, but you did bring me this fucking fat ass road. Fucking, it's burning. It's super burning slow. I'm still in the first phase of it. What is the first phase? Was it
that was the purple goat cheese. That's from
the
goat
purple goat cheese? And what's this one? Green crack.
green
right?
crack. Yeah, so that purple goat cheese from Goat Genetics. Shout out to Kevin. I've been running a lot of his genetics recently, and like, well, as a cultivator, right? Like I've
Found the source.
genetics matters, right?
Yeah.
Like what goes into it from the moment that it's made, right? Like all of that stuff matters. And everything that I've grown from them has been like fire in terms of like terpenes. Because I send these to the lab to get analyzed when I grow them, right? And
After they get done and shit.
yeah, and
So is it easy to test your bud? Like you could just, is there like a 1-800 number to test your bud?
so I actually so I use two labs. Well, now I'm tending to favor one over the other, because they just moved closer to me. They used to be in the city. It's Smithers Labs. Previously they were Origo Labs. I think they got bought out or something. But they recently moved to Darien. And then the other one is Accenture Lab. No, I'm lying. Grace Analytical. That's what it is. Oh my God, what was I thinking? Grace Analytical. Yeah. And that's the other lab that I use. But I just like the reports better from Smithers. Like they're more user friendly, I guess.
Okay. We just go drop off a nug and they'll just go in there.
Yeah. So I'll take a sampling from like each plant, from like different parts of the plant, and then I'll send them that so that they can give me
a full rundown on everything.
Yeah, and depending on what kind of test that I'm running. So and then this is the other reason why I know that when they're telling us, oh, get it from the dispensary because you know that it's clean because it's been tested and whatnot. This is how I know they don't really care about that shit, because they make the testing so fucking expensive or inaccessible to your home grower. Because if you really cared, then you would allow the home grower to also test their shit to know that they didn't fuck up growing their shit, right?
It's
like
the little things too that make it harder for us to fucking do it.
Yeah. I mean, like one of doing just like a potency test on one of these is like $80 on the low end, you know. And then if I want to do a full run,
but that's just from your whole batch, right? Like whatever you make, basically. Like if your whole plant, you're basically testing for your whole plant if it's only costing $80, right?
Yeah. So each test or each portion that you send, that's $80.
So how many different tests is there for a plant that you might want to do?
So if you do the full analysis, right? So you can do like your mycotoxins, your terpenes, your foreign matter, bug, like all of that stuff, right? That test is like $340 per drop.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm like, I get it. Like, if you're making money off of this, then sure, because you're gonna make money off of it. But if you're growing, to
your own shit, just to
then make that testing accessible to us, right? In some way that is consistent, in some way that is complete, right? So that we have that information too, and so this is for me, these are signs essentially showing you, hey, look, this is all about the money at the end of the day. Right? Yeah. Like everybody just wants to get paid. And that's like, as a business owner, for like myself, as a business owner, that's like one of the things that I struggle with too, right? Because, right, you have a business, you have to make money to pay the bills, right?
Yeah.
If I could do all of this for free and it didn't cost me anything, right? Like even to market or to come up with an idea for a box or a design or to do a partnership or something like that, like, there's cost associated with that. So in order for me to reach an audience, I have to pay money in some form or fashion, right? Yeah. Because that's just the way consumerism is, right? But I struggle with that, right? Because I don't want to sell you a sweater for like $80, bro, because that's ridiculous.
Fuck, that feel bad, right, bro?
Yeah.
I feel the same and that's just being human, bro.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Just to make your margin,
dog. But you got motherfuckers out here cutting throats, bro, for $100 sweaters and shit, like, and it's just like, bro, you got this shit from over here I buy these sweaters too, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I understand you make a small portion or more small profit, but again, start making your own clothes. You know what I'm saying? If you start making your own design sweater where you can just, because, bro, I know how to sew too, you know what I'm saying? So I'll be master sewing. I'm like a master sewer for Local 17, but we be sewing insulation blankets, you know what I'm saying? Insulation cooling blankets and shit. We make them fit like the pipe real nice. I'll show you some pictures out of this. But Yeah, man. And you talk about capitalism, like Amazon, for instance, bro.
Yeah.
Right? Check this out. When I first started this shit, I bought those lights up there. You see those lights back in 2016, right? I think it was 20. No, not 2016. 2021 when we got the studio. It was 2021. And then the ones I got for my gaming room and my son's gaming room, they were a lot. The quality was better. It had like a name brand, LED name. And now I try to go back in history and get them same LED lights. They sent me some weird ass, cheap ass China made shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, Amazon has become $1 billion company by just getting you in there at first, is showing you that, oh, we could get you name brand products, and all of a sudden now it's starting to smooth the shit. Like everything.
That's bro. What was it? They were just on the Super Bowl. They spent all that money, $21 million in ads. Temu. Same shit.
Yeah,
you know, like
it's all China made shit.
Yeah, it's the same shit, bro. And so that's the thing, right? Like if we start investing more like in ourselves instead of that
marketing
like, cheap shit, right? Like. Well, and I mean like in our lives as a whole, right? Instead of taking money to go buy this, fast fashion bullshit, bro, take that fucking money, put it in a investment, a money market or a mutual fund or something, or like do that instead, bro. Like get hard assets, right?
Or even being part of like a farming market. You know what I'm saying?
That
your community farmers
collaboration,
market, you know
and that's where I'm at now, right? So where I started, right? Like my conflict with being a business, right? Like I got to make money. And so what I realized over the last year is that the answer isn't that I got to do everything by myself, right? Even though I'm that way, I grew up that way, like self-sufficient, do it all yourself, don't ask for help, blah, blah, right? But that's exhausting, And I've learned that. I've learned that that's not why I left like the traditional workforce, right? I didn't leave it so that I could be more stressed. I left it so that I could have more control and so that I could have more balance in my life, right? Yep. So manage this project, right, in a balanced way. And the best way to do that, I've found, is to work through collaboration, right? Because I might have a set of skills and you might have a set of skills and they might have a set of skills that if we put them together, we don't have to overstress ourselves, right? Yep. And we can still each achieve whatever our goals are, right? So long as that we communicate, we're honest, and that, right? And that's the hardest thing, right? But I think I mentioned to you earlier, Carlos Ramos from Up Elevated. Up Elevated. So shout out to Up Elevated. So I've collaborated with him a lot last year, and this year, he's got a lot of stuff going on. If you look at his page, he's moving all over. But we've kind of learned to like, hey, we work well together in this way, right? And then so he's working on, connecting with other people and leveraging those skills, and for us to make like a collaborative effort to grow our businesses, get our message across, and make bigger reach, right? Because like I said, I'm no good when it comes to social media. Like I've just recently started learning. I've also started collaborating with Christina Baca from Dome Productions. Okay. So my other Instagram page that we've been growing is, so shout out to Baca.
What does she do? She like markets your
So
stuff?
She's actually a choreographer. So she's a choreographer, and she also does like marketing for smaller businesses.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, so she has a big network. So she actually did choreography for America's Got Talent. They have like a spin-off show right now. Legends or something like that.
Yeah.
And the drumming team, she did the choreography for them.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So her team, they went out there, did that choreography. So she's involved like in a different realm, like the dancing and entertainment, but she understands kind of like the plight of small business too, like not having reach, and kind of people like me that don't understand social media. And so she's been helping me out to like build another page. So because I learned that, Mojo's page is like shadow banned or whatever, I was like, okay, let me create a page that is about the philosophy of it, right? Aim higher. And it won't necessarily be weed centered, right? Like the bigger message, right? So she's helping me build that, like from the ground up.
Give it a different perspective, but the same meaning.
Yeah, because look, at the end of the day, I've learned this about weed, about cannabis. It really is about getting balance, right? Like if you learn about like the cannabinoids and the terpenes and like their properties, And you look at all of them individually, and you notice a trend. Most of them are like anti-inflammatory. Most of their properties, like, and if they work together, they work really well in that sense. Guess what happens to our bodies when we eat all the bullshit that comes off the shelf? Right, we deal with a lot of inflammation. Right, so living my life like having the cannabis regulate my body in a way that feels better, balanced, kind of inspired me to be there more frequently, right? And I realized that I had to remove things from my diet that were causing that inflammation, that were causing that pain, that were causing that tightness or soreness or whatever. And so it's a tool, right? It's a tool, just like every other piece of the matrix, right? And I call the matrix like all of the systemic things, right? Whether it's government, religion, family, your philosophy, ideology, all of that, right? That's all part of the matrix, right? And all of those are tools to help you figure out what truly is your core, right? And you have to measure against that, right? Cannabis is a tool in this, right? Like, it's not the answer. It's not like it's going to solve all my problems, right? But it's a tool to help you get better balance, right? And ultimately, the message is find that balance, right? Because the message on the outside is always going to say, give it your all, sacrifice everything, die young because, you want to be a legend and have a statue and be remembered forever, right? Like, that's the message. And it sounds great, right? Right? And the images that we're given that promote that, it's luxurious, right? Sure. And it's nice to have that as a goal, right? But the real trick is understanding that you're never really meant to achieve it. Right? Because if you ever climbed the mountain, have you ever climbed the mountain?
No.
If you've ever gotten to the top of a mountain, what happens next?
You're just at the top of the mountain.
And then?
You got to climb down.
Yeah. You hope you could climb down, right? You hope you don't fall on the way down, right? And it's less fulfilling or less exhilarating or less, right?
That's why that part right there, like, I've done some spectacular things already, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, what's next? You know what I'm saying? So like all this shit that I do, it's like it has no meaning, bro, in this world. You know what I'm saying? No matter what I do, it's never gonna be enough for anybody, but unless it's enough for yourself, you know what I'm saying? So like, that's the only reason why I keep doing this shit, because it's cool. Like, it's my therapy for my life, you know what I'm saying? To get a different man's perspective on how he handles things or what he's going through.
Yeah, you set the tone, you set the rules, you set the expectation.
It's your universe, man.
It's you, baby. Yeah. And that's really the message. And it's hard for people to see it that way, right? Especially when you've built a large portion of your life based on an ideology, right? Because then you're like, fuck, I just wasted all, 30 years on this ideology, right? Or on this purpose. And now, and that's what happens. That's what makes it so hard to say goodbye to like relationships, right? Because you're like, damn, bro, I invested in
so much time.
You threw away all these years of, and it's not you threw away, like, because it couldn't have all been shitty, right? Unless you're dumb and you just like shitty or
it was fun, but you made it shitty, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
But at the end of the day, it's like you experienced life, right? There's growth. There was challenges to your beliefs. There was challenges to what you thought was real or whatever. And hopefully you take that and you grow from that, right? Like we think that like the decay of things is like bad it just means that there's transformation happening, right? Because that breakdown, kind of like going back to the microbiome, right? The ecosystems for the plants. Mm-hmm. The more decay and death and transition that's happening there, that transference of energy, it's like building something new, right? Take that, ride that, build something on that. And this is why I say, if we're looking internally, right? I almost liken it to the Ant-Man, the second or third Ant-Man. Remember when they're not going out into space in the universe, in the multiverse, but they're going
deeper
inside
the universe.
And it's like a multiverse.
Just like in our body.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
and that's what I'm saying is like there's so much to explore. There's so much to understand. The hardest part is being like honest with yourself, so that you could break free from what you've been conditioned to, right? Because deconstructing all those lies or deconstructing
programming yourself.
And that's because that takes work. right? Like even for me, and I'll admit, right? Like I still give into some of my,
Accountability.
I still give into like some of my old habits because they're habits or because it's convenient or because it's easy. Despite knowing, hey, bro, do better, right? Like I've been trying to make an effort to not like eat so much cereal because cereal is like my munchy food, bro. At night, I don't know about you, but bro, and
I haven't ate cereal in like over 10 years.
oh no, bro, that's like my thing, and so like I've been okay, no more cereal. I'm gonna do oatmeal, you know, and then I'm trying to get less sugary oatmeal, right? Like little steps, right? Like doing a little bit better. Sure, it's not perfect, and you know what? It doesn't matter. I don't intend to live like 100+ years, right? I get it. Especially the way I mistreated my body, you know, for the majority of my life. I get it. I've done damage. I feel it. Trust me. I feel the pain. But I'm always trying to do better, right? And better on different levels, right? Because then I'll never get tired. It'll never get monotonous, right? Like some people take pride in saying, hey, I'm the same person today that I was 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, sure.
That's not what you want to be, though.
Yeah, because that means that you've been stagnant. That means that there has been no growth. There's been
you've been content with who you were back 15 years ago and not taking no accountability on what you've done right and what you've done wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the purpose of growth, of understanding you, of what you've done as a person and how you can change that person to be somebody better. Shout out to my cousin Natalie, man, because we talk about this a lot. And she's like the only other person I really open up to that we opened up to, that we, you know what I'm saying? We laughed, we cried together, you know what I'm saying? We did shit, all that work in front of people, you know what I'm saying? Just because we were there sitting with each other. I mean, this is coming from, she was like my second cousin. So my abuelita and her abuelita were brother and sister. So from the damn family line, she was like my third cousin, second cousin. And we ended up connecting, man, real good. And we opened up so much. And she taught me how to be a better person because she come from this aspect of love and hugs and kisses, but I came from a different aspect of like, you know what I'm saying, being home alone and fucking just, my mom's out partying with the family and the family's all night chilling and fucking shit. People were getting shot at and shit, this is weird shit you see as kids. My dad left and my mom got a divorce when I was like 3 and shit like that. So it's like growing up without a father and all the gang activity around you and getting influenced, like you said, being influenced. But I'm glad, like speaking of that, I never became no gang member or anything like that. So I always been, like I said, I always felt different. You know what I'm saying? To be a different person.
Hey, me too. As a shorty, I felt different, bro. But more because like I always felt. Remember how you said like you manifested in your mind?
Yeah.
Like when I was a shorty, I always felt, you know, like damn, I'm poor and all my friends are like they live better than I do, right?
Yeah.
And it was just an assumption,
Likewise,
right? Yeah. Because, you know, especially when it came to like name brand shit, right? So as a shorty, I got all my stuff from the Segunda.
Yeah.
You know, it was all like hand me down.
Pay less and shit.
Yeah, yeah. And so, you know, I would hear the way that the guys would talk to other people, like, oh, look, you're wearing those bootleg, you know, whatever. And in my brain, I was like, what happens when my guys say that about me?
Yeah.
You know? And I was rocking Pumas before Pumas were a cool thing to rock. So back when, you know, Nike, it was either Nike or Reebok
or Converses.
And Puma, like my friends, Puma, what the fuck is, I'm like, bro, you don't even know what Pumas are, bro. I'm rocking, look, Nike, Fila, this, that. I'm the only one with Pumas, bro. I'm the one that, y'all are the same, bro. And so in my brain, like I had to flip the script, right?
Yeah.
So it was always that way. I'm like, you know what? Everybody's so focused on this outside bullshit, bro. Like,
Let me switch it up on him.
Yeah, bro.
Hit him with the flip mode.
Yeah.
Flip mode the greatest.
Bro, and it's weird. It's really weird. But in a way that kind of insulated me from ever being too enamored with like pop culture and shit like that, right? Like I always went against the grain. You know, just because going against the grain, I could always use that to my advantage and be like, bro, I'm doing me, you know? And more, it was like to protect myself, right? It was to protect my ego, right? But it helped. It helped me to not always place my identity in something else or in someone else.
Yeah.
And to this day, you know, it still serves me.
That's what a lot of people too, keeping up with the avatar they created in this world. You know what I'm saying? Like you say, it's like trying to be this person and trying to get to this point where I already experienced that point and I already came to that conclusion. Like none of that shit mattered. That's why I'd rather learn something like the currency, the real currency of, like you said, we come together and you could do this, you could do that, oh, how can we come together? And that's currency because you got knowledge that obtained something that you can help me get. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's the real currency in life. And everybody's looking at these materialistic things as what the value of a person is because based off what he wears or whatever he does. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's why I respect Kanye, dog. Shout out to Ye. You know what I'm saying? Because his views on how wearing his own product. That's why he ain't got no name brand shit. Because you're wearing, like, when you're wearing Versace, you're wearing fucking Louis Vuitton, you're advertising somebody else's product that has nothing to affiliate you or your kids to go back. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to tell everybody you're rich. Look at rich people. They dress in fucking regular clothes. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and here's the thing is that, so like in my experience, every like universe has its own set of rules, right? And by that, I mean this. When I was in the military, right, customs and courtesies, rank, professionalism. I'm in the place with the 4-star general with the president or whatever. Like, there's a certain decorum and there's a certain dignity, and people know when they talk about General so and so or Colonel so and so, right? Yeah. But outside of that universe, nobody gives a fuck
about who you are.
You see General so and so at wherever, you know, it's just some other old dude, right?
Some guy that you just see.
Yeah, and the same thing, you know, like in when it comes to like the difference between being rich and poor, right? In rich circles, bro, like, I see some of these fashion shows and I'm like, that's cool, okay, you know, do you? But like for me, I'm not paying, you know, $45,000
for the fucking half cut dress or half cut bandana or some shit.
Nah, bro. So, but in every universe, there's that set of rules or that set of hierarchy, expectations, and let that be, right?
Well, like, it doesn't matter what you do on this planet, man. You're gonna find some kind of audience that is gonna relate to you, whatever you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and this is the thing that I encourage people: is do you, but don't expect other people to necessarily like it or whatever. Like, do you, and you'll attract the ones that do. And the ones that will benefit from, and just do you. Stop worrying about controlling other people, right? And this is where government gets it wrong, right? The difference between governance and control, right? Because a lot of the bullshit that we're talking about, a lot of the stuff, it's all, you can see clear as day, it's about control,
nothing
right?
else.
When you're taking information out of circulation or restricting access to information, it's about control. So don't sell me on the bullshit. It's about, you know, our values and this and
public
that.
Public safety and all those.
Fuck that. Bro. Yeah. So
that's why.
So when people move, bro, I pay attention to that. Like, what are we talking about, right? Are we talking about just money? Is money the goal here? Because if it is, that ain't for me.
No.
Like, I don't need mojos or I don't need aim higher. I could just sit at the crib, do very minimal amount of work, and my cost of living my life is good, and I don't have to circulate in public or push a message or a product or whatever, right? And to be honest, I don't really care about most people, right? Like, to make that effort, because I was that guy at one point in my life. I had to be the hero, right? I had to be the everything. I had to do everything for everyone, and that shit blew up in my face one time, right? And real bad. And I learned, you know what? Let me just invest that time, energy, and effort in a certain number of people. And whatever happens from that point, if I give you my time, if I give you my energy, if I give you anything, I'm giving away without any expectation of anything in return. Like, this is the moment shared. My hope is that through that interaction, that maybe a seed was planted, an idea was inspired, a hope was given, or whatever, to help you evolve from whatever that point is, and let it do the work that it does, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. That's it for me. But given that I have a certain set of skills and a certain life experience that isn't necessarily common, right? And that I at least have the capacity to be honest in its analysis, I feel like people can learn something from it, right? And the best way to reach an audience, instead of me trying to chase people down, is this platform that you have, right? Yeah. Because whoever wants to listen to it will tune in. Yeah. And if you don't like the message, you just flip the channel. It's like,
just keep going.
Yeah. Like, I don't like the idea of having to force me down your throat. Yeah. Right? Like, it's come in and hang out. Come and learn something. Come because that's at the core of what we are, right? We're education and consulting. So I could teach you. I could teach you a lot about not just weed.
Yeah.
You know.
So you already taught me a little bit more about getting shit tested, so that's already a plus for me. You know what I'm saying? And definitely gonna hit you up more about cultivating and shit like that too. So like,
Oh yeah,
and
no,
then
and I'm gonna
the
have
same,
to learn.
likewise with the gardening too. Like you're saying, so like it's like that's the purpose. That's we're sharing our currency for free, and it went with no changes. But oh shit, you got some fruit, bro? I'll give you some of my fruit. Here, boom, boom. You know what I'm saying?
That's it. Or that exchange, the value is really in the exchange of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Or that camaraderie that's being built, right? And this is why, like, for me, it's important to, like, if I'm gonna collaborate with somebody, if I'm gonna be in business with somebody, if you've never been to my house, there's only so far we're gonna get, right?
Yeah.
Because I need to know what your energy is like in my paradise.
Yeah.
How does your energy
Flow.
disrupt or enhance my paradise, you know?
Yeah.
And I've gone out of my way to make my house that way, right? To cultivate a
As you should,
relationship.
though.
Yeah, to cultivate a relationship, you know, me and Monica, like we've been through a lot. Like we've been through a lot. And you know, we reached a point at some point in the last 14 years where, you know, it was like a stay or go kind of like, right? And we, you know, we made it through it. And my whole time since that point has been be better, right? Operate differently, right? Because if I'm managing my relationship the same way I managed my previous relationship, this one is headed in the same direction. Right?
Yeah.
Like I should have learned, right? So communicate better, right? Like I feel like communication would solve a whole lot. Honest communication would solve a whole lot of fucking problems, right? But we always struggle with like the embarrassment of our mistakes or the embarrassment of our struggle or the embarrassment of this or that. And it's like, yeah, okay, you might be embarrassed, but maybe there's more value in getting this out because you'll learn how to cope, or you'll learn a mechanism for growing, or you'll learn something, right? Because they're, even though not everybody's experience, remember you were comparing like your hood experience versus like the war, it doesn't have to be the same, but there's a shared like emotional like transition that goes, you know, that with that trauma, right? And that's been my goal, right, in the relationship, right? Like I understand I made a shit ton of mistakes in my marriage, right? And understanding what that all cost, I say, well, this relationship I'm gonna do better. Yeah. And when I come to a crossroad, to a problem, say, no, I handled it like this last time, you know, and really a lot of the times, bro, it's ego. Yep. It's fucking ego, bro. I swear to God, bro.
100%. I agree with you. 100%.
The next time you come into some sort of conflict, take just 1 second, take your ego out the fucking equation,
and you'll be good.
Then look at it.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, it ain't that fucking serious, bro.
It's not.
But it's a constant work, right? It's not to say we don't have problems or whatever, but we both communicate better, right? It's you should with whoever your partner is or whatever relationship, again, whether it's a personal one, a romantic one, a friendship, family, whatever, like you gotta be honest, like butt naked, honest, if you really want to grow from it, right?
100%.
Because you could lie, you know, you could lie to your friends, you could lie and say, oh yeah, you know, I'm fine, everything's good, I got it all under control or whatever, you could, to put that facade, but there's not gonna be any benefit from that other than, you know, stroking your ego.
You living your life.
Yeah.
What's gonna haunt you more later on in life, you know what I'm saying? You living this lie and believing that something, and you're portraying yourself to be somebody in front of your friends and family that you're not, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and I'm not saying you got to do with everybody, right?
Yeah.
Because you also got to be careful, right? But
who you open up to, exactly, 100%.
But the ones that you call your real ones, the ones that you call your ride or dies, bro, you got to make that assessment and say, hey, can I be like butt naked honest with you about whatever? Can I make myself vulnerable, right, for whatever? Because if I really want help, then I got to be honest and I got to be vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that like I grew up with that like machismo mentality, right? Like that a man's got to do everything, you know, and provide, support, and handle, and this and that, and that's a stress, bro. Because I grew up that way. Look,
So that you were talking about like what you're dealing with in your relationship, and you were talking about remember seeds from growing up. You know what I'm saying? So it starts from there, from us as being kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that, and we are a reflection of our environment. You know, of what we learn, because we weren't really taught to learn about our emotions, like you said, being a fucking tough guy. You know what I'm saying? If you showed any emotions, you're weak.
Walk it off.
You're a pussy. Walk it off. No, you know what I'm saying? Just like stupid shit. But in reality, that's just emotionally can damage a kid. You know, I brought that up to my son too, because it's actually one of my clips on my podcast on IG. Is it talks about that, like me taking accountability as a parent, understanding like if I could emotionally damage my son based on how I grew up or how I overreacted on things. You know what I'm saying? Because of what I seen growing up. So that's what I was taught to be as a parent. You know what I'm saying? And me and my dad talk about this a lot, and he talks about like how he observed it compared when he had another opportunity, because he had to take this kid in because it was his wife's sister's son. So she was like, you know, a little messed up in the streets. So my dad said he didn't want to take that responsibility because, you know, he grows a love for him and the system would come take him away and shit like that. My dad didn't want to go through the heartache of emotions of having that, you know, taken away from you. And then, so he learned from his mistakes of reevaluating himself. Like you said, people were still happy about who they were fucking 15 years ago, you know? And he realized what he was as a dad like 10 years ago when he had this other opportunity. He's like, well, I'm going to go about it different this time, you know? And as far as like yelling at kids, expecting them to know what they don't know, because they're kids, they got to get taught, you know? They got to get taught. There are seeds. They don't know anything. This is the first time on their planet. Like, they haven't experienced, everything they experience is brand new to them, you know? So.
Well, and we kind of like fill in that expectation, right? Like looking back at like when my kids were small, because they understood, like I felt like, oh, you communicate well, like, oh, so you should understand these concepts too, right? And that's the mistake, right? Like the expectation's too high, and I feel like we tend to be like harder, or we try too hard to fill the gap for whatever was missing when we were kids, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm guilty of that too, right? Mm-hmm. To the point that we tend to like overcompensate one way or the other, and this is why I always preach balance, right? Because if you aim for balance, even
Those shallows mean perfect balance.
Yeah, even when you miss, right? Like the correction isn't that hard or isn't that bad, right? Like that balance, it helps with your sanity and your level of stress, right? And so balancing in your health, in your diet, balancing like your workload, balancing like how you spend time with your family, you know, but that's not what the world teaches, right? The world teaches the world teaches excess in any direction, bro. And that's like when you look at it, it's like, fuck yeah, why do I have so much shit, you know? Bro, I walked through my house the other day. I got like fucking 4 TVs, bro. and probably like only one of them ever really gets used, you know?
Bro, I just threw a bunch of shit out because I'm like a big throw out like fucking guy. Like if shit's not used or not being used, like get rid of this shit. Like we don't need it in the house. Like I hate like hoarding shit, you know what I'm saying? Like I just don't need it. Like I need to be free, you know what I'm saying? It's free to space, free to everything, you know? So
tell that to a plant person, bro, man. It's like, fuck, I don't have enough plants. I want more plants.
Oh, that's the only thing I do like is plants, you know? So plants in the house are fine, but anything else is like just like some materialistic thing just laying there in the corner not being used, you know what I'm saying? Just like like I hate it, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, and don't get me wrong, you know, like I try to get the most use out of things as I can, right? I probably because I grew up that way, right? Like my couch, you know, probably had to be replaced like 3 or 4 years ago. Like we just barely got new couches. But it's because, you know, I grew up that way, bro. Like, oh, it's got a hole on the bottom. Just put a little patch on it.
Let's do something. Yeah. Get the stapler.
Yeah. But yeah, right. Like at some point, you gotta kind of like allow that evolution, right? I'm not just talking about like physical things, right? Like tangible things, but like a metaphor for life, right? Like at some point,
just look at the way the kids are now, man. Like how they're they're like programmed with these damn phones and tablets in their hands. It's just like That's why we don't. My little ones at home, man, they don't got no tablets. We take it away. They can watch TV, but other than that, like, no tablets and phones, no hands and phone, nothing.
Yeah.
And it's,
Well,
it's hard though. It's because technology, the way the society is going. You know.
well, they're gonna need it, right?
Yeah,
They're gonna need the exposure to that at some point, and you don't want to like cripple them to not have, right? So it's really about finding that balance, right? Like finding like, okay, where is the interest, and feed that interest and find the connection, right? To where they understand the utility of things.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. To utilize it as a
Yeah.
tool.
Yeah. So, and that's what we should do, right? We should focus on like, what is the utility of this thing, right? If I'm spending my time, my money, especially if you're spending time,
Yeah.
okay? Because look, out of every other fucking resource in the
Yeah.
universe, bro, time is 100% not renewable, bro.
Oh,
And so, wherever you're putting your time, wherever you're investing that, like, it's got to be worth it.
100%.
Like, ask yourself, like, why? And so this is the habit that I've tried to get myself in, like when I'm eating something, right? Like,
yeah.
why am I eating?
Why am I
bro?
eating this?
Right? Especially because like one of the things is that obviously if I consume a lot, like, I get the munchies a lot, right? And so learning to balance that, right? And asking myself, okay, why am I eating this because I'm like actually hungry? I need, like I feel like a little bit tired, need some energy, or am I just eating this just to eat it, right? Like, and then the next question is like, what is this that I'm eating? Is this full of sugar or right? And so the next part is like replacing a lot of that junk in my fridge and in my cupboard. So now we have like more fruits.
Yeah.
We have like more.
And
like
you're still not satisfied. You go open the door and you're like, nah.
Yeah. But part of it is training. It's like I said, deconstructing like those old habits.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
It's a constant work in progress.
Yeah, 100%.
And I don't necessarily say I got to be perfect about it, right? It's just being better,
Yeah,
right? Whether
just do better.
it's an inch better or like a mile better,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But just to consciously making that effort, right? And that applies to every part of my life, right? Like in my relation as a grower, right? Like I like to say my best harvest hasn't even been grown yet. You know why? Because my next one's gonna be better than the one right now, and my next one's gonna be better than that, right?
And your best one might come. You don't never because it's just keep getting better.
It'll never. And because out of every plant that I grow, right? Like I tell myself, oh, I could have done this. Next time I'm gonna try this, or maybe a different set of nutrient regimen, or whatever that changes, right? To see what that effect is gonna be. And so one of the things like for me is like I put so much effort in learning about just this fucking plant, bro, right? To how to communicate with it, right? It doesn't speak.
Yeah.
But I make an effort to communicate with it so that I know, am I doing well? Should I do more of this? Should I do less of that? Right? To understand the vibration, right? Like when I'm in there with my plants, bro, and I'm jamming with them, bro, like but I also feel when I would overwater them, like, bro, it'd be just like
The mood
heavy.
is
Like it
different.
was just like, yeah, like whatever. Like
They're not vibrant, moving around and shit, like
and
happy and shit.
So I start to understand that, right? And the same thing, right? The same thing goes when talking about like communicating with my dog. She barks. She doesn't speak English, but I make an effort to learn how to communicate with her because I love her, right? Simply because I want to relate better with her. And if I make all of this effort for a plant, to communicate with a plant, to communicate with a dog, shouldn't I be putting at the very minimum that effort to communicate with my partner, And so we, like in the last probably about 5 or 6 years, like we've taken really significant steps to like being more open, more honest, communicating better, being more patient, like stuff like that, because we want, not to say we don't still like occasionally snap at each other and whatnot, but like we catch ourselves, right?
Take that accountability.
And it's like, hey, my bad, I know I reacted this way, and my bad, I know I fucked up, but I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Whatever. Because that's the hardest thing, right? Is like, and even things that you would be embarrassed about, like having conversations, like, oh, I'm embarrassed to have this conversation about this vulnerable time in my life. Right?
Yeah.
Because it helps to understand each other better, right? And by understanding each other better, we can communicate better, right? Doing little things, right? Like in my brain or in my philosophy of life, right? Something that she finds super important, I'm like, bro, that's stupid. Right? But if it's important to her, bro, then fuck it. I don't care if it's stupid. Hey, it's important to you, babe. Like, fuck it. Let's, because the just because my expectation of importance or my expectation of value is different from hers doesn't mean I shouldn't like respect that, right?
Yeah.
And so like being able to communicate in that way is like, oh, okay, like I get it now, right? And taking interest in like those little things, right? Like trying to be a better dancer a little bit, right? Because I fucking suck at dancing. But like whenever there's an opportunity, I make at least an effort to to indulge in those things.
Yeah.
And bro, crazy thing is that sometimes you might even find, bro, I fuck with this shit.
Yeah.
I fuck with this vibe. I fuck with this,
Yeah.
like shit. We just got our pedicures, like we get pedicures like a monthly thing, bro. Like, and the first time I went, I'm like, damn, bro, I'm the only dude here. But now it's like, all right, hey, babe, ain't it time to
go get that pedicure?
Go get our appointment, And, but it's, it's like, and when I can compare like one extreme of life where I'm literally living day to day, not knowing if I'm gonna live, to being able to indulge in like these little nuances of life, right? For the sake of being able to enjoy life better, to communicate better, to grow, to evolve, and all of those experiences, right? The bad ones too, right? Like, part of that is part of your evolution, right? For better or for worse, I know.
That's where I forgot what that hell fucking. There's this reporter that was getting interviewed by that dude, and he talked about like the life experiences. You know what I'm saying? Like the good and the bad, like you just said. Like you got to be grateful for those things that you go through because you're already living a life you already defied the odds of being here. You know what I'm saying? So for every experience that we go through, you must be grateful for that because you could never even experience it if you weren't defying the odds already of being born. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and that's real talk, right? So a lot of times we forget to give ourselves credit, right? Like a lot of fears and anxieties, I feel like they could be conquered, right? If you just do an honest assessment of like, you're here because you made it through all this shit. You're here because, for all your mistakes and for all your whatever, you're right here standing, and you have an opportunity to either make changes or double down in the direction you're headed or whatever, whatever it is. But the only thing that really matters are you being true to you? Are you being honest to you because it really truly is of and for you? Or are you doing this because somebody else put it in you for you to chase this? For you to want this or for you to, sacrifice for this?
Yeah.
So
that's like, it's like how you said that there's a reason why, not reason why, but if there's somebody in our lives that we cross paths and you got to figure out why, you got to bring them into your aura, your energy, right? Your house to see how things go. And that's why I told people about like every time you meet people, it's because you already cross paths with these dudes or this person, this God or this goddess in another life. We're just crossing paths again. You know what I'm saying? To get to that higher frequency, that higher vibration, that shit, like you're talking about now, you already keying things on my relationship that I need to work better as far as like the ego thing. You know what I'm saying? Just small things. Everything looks peachy, but it's in reality, dude, I still face demons every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's cool as hell. That's the reason why the conversations need to be had, like you said, like just so we can understand each other better. You know what I mean? You can relate to some experiences just because a lot of people don't talk about the experiences, period. They just rather just live this lie and persona, like you say, and give this life on Instagram too. There's a lot of that too, man.
Yeah, you're selling an idea, right? You're selling an idea. I mean, that's marketing, right? It's hard to when you're being honest because when you're being honest, you have to be vulnerable. And if you're traveling into those places that once hurt, and we know how the world could be, right? Like the 100%. World could be vicious and whatnot.
The world's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah. But that's cool, right? And this is why like your entire journey matters, right? Because the little challenges, the big challenges, the combination of everything in between, it teaches you to adapt, right? It teaches you to develop a strength or a protection for whatever struggle you just went through, right? So if you're constantly evolving, you're working towards these things, right? Because the next challenge maybe hopefully won't be that hard because you're better prepared. The problem is that like when life gets more complicated, if we haven't done anything to evolve, we trip over a stone and that's it. That's game over for us, right? And this is why going back to what I mentioned earlier about it's nice to have like an ambition, to climb to the top of the mountain. And realistically, you should never actually feel like you got to the top of the mountain. Because if you do, that means that either you set your sights too low, right? Or that you need to be prepared to come back down.
Yeah.
And that road down,
it's gonna be a lot.
It could be painful.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot harder.
Yep. Because
you gotta think about all the performers. Like you think about like all the people that are on top 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? They're not on top anymore. They're walking around in their buses, like say rappers and MCs, and like they don't have the same fan base like they did 10 years ago. So now they're going around, and this is all they put their effort into, and they climbed that mountain, and now it's getting back down to the bottom. And where eventually you're gonna stop getting booked for your shows. You know what I'm saying? So,
and realistically, because at least in my opinion, right, like they set their sights on the wrong goal, right?
Yeah.
Because look, I think the best ones are probably like the one-hit wonders. And I'll say this because you made your money and hopefully you invested it, right? And now you're like that dude from MySpace, the Tom guy, right?
Yeah.
You ever heard about him after he sold MySpace? You ever heard anything about dude? No, right? He made billions of dollars.
What do you get sold that you been bought out about?
He's like a photographer. Like all he does is take pictures, spend time with his family. But you don't hear anything about him, bro. Those are the real winners, bro, because they're like, hey, you know what? I ain't got time for all that bullshit out there. I'm gonna take my money. I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna evolve my circle the way I want to without your influences or input. But the problem is like you get addicted to the high of the fame or the money or the love of the fans or whatever. And realistically, bro, I would say make your fucking money and then just get out the way or help others, create a path for others to come. Because if you all at the top, there's no room. There's a limit at the top, right? The only ones that are getting marketed, the only ones that are getting airtime are the ones that have been there for long, that have developed relationships, with DJs, with label, with this and that and the other, right? And then those are the only ones you hear. But there's so much talent, bro. There are 8 billion motherfucking people in this world, bro. It's a lot of fucking talent in this motherfucker. And make room. Because then, hey, guess what? You little bit of wealth distribution for some motherfuckers, right? To reach more. But nobody wants to have that conversation, right? Because it's all about having the most awards, the longest, the longest records, the most streams, the most fucking money,
follows,
the biggest,
and all
of this shit, bro. And bro, at real talk, that ain't it. Like if you really want to talk about like how you want to impact and how you want to help, bro, that means we will have a rotation of fresh music, fresh art, fresh talent, like rotating regularly instead of listening to the same motherfucker for like 15 years. And don't get me wrong, because look, I still listen to
the same shit.
Bro, I still bump
listen to the 90s shit.
Bro, I still bump
Tupac, Biggie, bro.
Shit, my bad.
You're good.
I still bump Tupac, Biggie, Wu-Tang, right? Like that's with the stuff.
That's
I
our era, bro.
Man, Whitney Houston, yeah, bro. Jodeci, yeah. But
he said Whitney Houston. That's funny because there's a song me and my cousin Natalie always call each other when we hear it, bro. I can't fucking remember it right now, but it's Dance With Me. Dan, I just want to dance with somebody. Yeah. So every time we hear that song, that's like our fucking song. We recorded it. And like we got a bunch of videos and shit on our messengers. So that's funny. You brought up Whitney Houston.
Yeah. So don't get me wrong. But I feel like that's generational too, right? Like whatever attachment you have that in your life directly that you were going through, right? That's always gonna have an emotional attachment to you, right? Like I'm disconnected from most current artists, for a variety of reasons, because I was in the military and I missed everything between.
You were just listening to MP3s of your favorite shit, and you didn't have no computer. You could just download new music and shit.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Bro. So for a long time, I just listened to the same shit. So I'm not really connected. I missed a lot of good artists, that came out, like Kendrick Lamar. Like I don't have like a connection. Like I listened to some of his music, but I missed, like when he was coming up and stuff like that. Bruno Mars, I missed all of that. Like I'm catching up with
All the songs and shit.
all of the stuff.
And it's a little frustrating too, right? You got to listen to all these songs. Like, do I want to put all these minutes into all these albums and shit, or do I want to do some other shit? You know
But I mean, but I don't mind because I listen to a wide range of music. And I'm more like I like the lyrics. Like I'm big on dialogue and lyrics, words and stuff like that, messages. But music also is like noise for me, like the vibration, right? So like it gets me in a zone, right? So for instance, I'm on a convoy and I'm rocking, you know, some like hard rock, some heavy metal. You know,
just getting into the fucking like motion.
Yeah, like, you know, to pump me up and keep me awake. But like if I'm in the zone working, you know, I think I was telling you earlier, like I used to listen to like smooth jazz and I would get like real good in the zone. But recently I've been listening to that Spanish.
Well, we opened up
acoustic.
to.
Yeah. And that's been, I don't know, game changer or something, man. Cause I be in there with my plants and I be like, I don't even feel tired at the end.
Vibrations, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but I listen, you know, everything in between, you know. Like I said, I grew up on 90s R&B and hip hop. But you know, rap, country, all of that.
I do everything but country. Old country, but not new country. I can't do no Taylor Swift or anything like that.
Oh yeah, no, I mean more like Kenny Chesney. You know,
I don't know any country artists, whatever you say right now.
Oh, okay. No,
but I listen to old country and shit like that, but nothing new. The old outlaw country shit like that. Maybe Johnny Cash and shit like that. You know, Hank Williams.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Old country like that. So, cause my grandfather used to listen to that shit, so that's why. And then I'll listen to some 1950 jazz, you know what I'm saying? Or some, I like classical music too. Like people think I'm fucking crazy for that. Though. It's just like, because people don't understand like the importance of music, man, like how it was made back in the day. You know, like you got to understand some of these records were cut in the back of a fucking hen house or some shit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Or some of these piano players are just fucking like Beethoven. We were listening to Beethoven the other day, and it's cool as hell to hear his story. And as he got older, his sound just started deteriorating, and he's creating fucking amazing composing amazing music and being partially deaf and deaf. You know what I'm saying? Like from vibrations on the floorboards, like, and to play like the Moonlight fucking
the sonata.
God damn, bro, like. That shit is amazing to watch on like YouTube for somebody else playing it. There's a video, man, that's on there, and he's just fucking vibing to this thing, and it's fucking playing out. And it's to think somebody just sitting down on a fucking wood-based floor and just listening to the vibrations writing that fucking song.
Bro, crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Just fucking.
Well, that's actually, to be honest, that's how I got into listening to the Spanish acoustic guitar. I think I mentioned to you earlier. Like I had just seen this video of
That
this
little Chinese kid, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean Asian. I don't know.
Asian Chinese kid.
He went crazy on that guitar, bro. And I started looking up the music, and I was like, oh shit, this is like flamenco type music, you know. And I was like, okay. And yeah, like I said, it there's no words to most of it, right? It's just pure, just the sound, but it like it will make a emotion kind of like rise in you, you know, like you could feel the music. It's either like
vibrations, bro.
Yeah, it's the music is either like mad or it's sad or it's like, oh shit, we just chilling, you know.
So like playing different music for your plants. My mom used to always do that shit with her music box. She used to play like her music box by her plants and talk to them and shit like that. So you be in there talking to them and singing to them and shit too.
Well, I mean, I don't really sing too. Like I'll sing karaoke too, like whatever is bumping, you know. But no, I do talk to them. I do talk to them every day, bro.
You got a name for each of them?
Nah, I don't really name them like that. Because they're strains or whatever. But I do talk to them. Yeah, they're always, you know, if they're feeling good, you know, if I see a change in their color, or if I see some like fungusness, I'll be like, oh damn, honey, you know, like my bad. Let me do you a spa day. You know, I'll do like a little some nematodes, you know, to help with the pests, because I don't use pesticides, and so I'll just do natural.
What's nematodes?
So they're like these little bugs.
Oh, okay.
That eat
microorganisms.
That eat the bugs that are like the larvae for the fungus gnats and stuff like that.
Oh, shit.
And they'll kill like root aphids and stuff like that, so they'll keep the roots healthy.
So the whole ecosystem, you gotta maintain, basically.
Mainly because I'm growing in pots, right? Like it'd be different if I was growing outside and like I had access to like the whole actual natural earth, right?
Okay.
Of ecosystem.
So you can control your environment then?
Yeah, because in the pot, I'm basically creating the ecosystem, right? So there's a limit, right? Like if I don't keep the bugs fed properly, like they'll just die off, right? So it's about balancing the introduction of all of those microorganisms so that they're working, you know.
Yeah. Man, I had this cultivator on my podcast. He was like the first one. He was from Colorado Springs. I flew out to Colorado to go check him out, and he talked about on the podcast that he got into cultivating because he was a landscaper, right? And he had this like condo, and he had this room by like 20 by 24. And he said he just started because he was a landscaper, but he was going to be a law school or some shit. And he got out of law school because he realized that like marijuana charges were mostly against black and brown people, and they were getting hit much harder than, you know, Caucasian people. And it was like an eye opener for him. And he realized he was going to harass people the same color of him, you know what I'm saying? Same dynamic. And for petty charges, which somebody was just having a bad day type shit. And like there was a case, for instance, he brought up. It's crazy I remember this, but the guy was sitting outside, he just had an argument with his girl, and he just smoked a joint, and then they took him to jail, and he was facing like 10 years and shit, in Florida.
For smoking
a
joint?
back in the day, yeah.
Damn, bro.
And he was just having a bad day. He had clothes all over the fucking front lawn, and the cops just made his life worse. You know what I'm saying? Because he was just having a bad day, bro. Like. And people have bad days, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Not everything's picture perfect in this world for everybody, you know? Like, everybody portrays it's supposed to be. Like, people go through shit. Yeah. And cops go through shit, you know? So he was talking about how he started with a little corner, and he started just bringing dirt home, and he just fucking started planting because he had all these exotic plants. He was doing landscaping in Tampa, Florida for all these, like, rich people around that area. Okay. So you have all these extra exotic plants left over. So you just started one day fucking bringing dirt in, bags of soil, you know, pouring it in the corner. And then fucking next thing you know, dude, he says like 3 feet. He had a water reservoir. He had like 100 and some different kind of insects in there. Like he had a whole ecosystem, like lizards, fucking birds. Wow. And he said he moved out because he went and got cool with his neighbor underneath him and shit. But he was just talking about I just brought it up because of the ecosystem that he had in there. He was like, dude, it was fucking crazy.
Yeah, bro. I mean, think about it, right? Like the rainforest, right? Yeah. Like that's why it flourishes, right? Because that ecosystem was built. The ancients had it right, man. Like we're acting like this shit's all brand new, but the ancients, we fucked it up, right? Yeah. So the ancients had it right, and that ecosystem, like it's not like nobody's feeding that. Like it was created to be like self-sufficient, right? And that's why it flourishes the way that it does. Bro.
And then we come over here fucking tearing down fucking rainforests, stripping the wood down, and and you're forcing other migrations to go other areas to fuck up that ecosystem that was already built. It's just like the reptile fucking problem down in Florida, you know, the swamplands. All these people got fucking pythons and shit. Now that I guess there's just wild pythons in Florida now. Just fucking from people just fucking bringing them here, having them as pets, letting them go.
And then letting them go.
And then they're fucking mating out here, creating hundreds of babies of fucking pythons. And
isn't that how that happened? Chance the Snapper? Like someone threw their like pet alligator. Do you remember that in Humboldt Park?
Somebody threw their alligator out, like fuck.
Yeah, like a baby alligator. Someone threw in like the pond or some shit.
And it got big and shit.
Yeah, you don't remember that?
No.
It was a couple years ago. Chance the Snapper.
No way. No, you're good. You're good. No way. I gotta look that shit up.
Yeah.
Chance the Snapper.
Yeah, like there was that alligator sighting in Humboldt Park, bro.
No way.
Yeah.
Did they find him or capture him?
Yeah. I think they caught him. I think
somebody just let it go. Like fuck it, you got too big. Cause I remember, like,
bro, but could you imagine like that motherfucker grows up or a fully grown alligator in Humboldt Park?
Fucking just chilling
there. Yeah, bro. Fuck.
I think they can freeze themselves to come. I mean, they survive fucking. They're like the living last thing. I mean, that Jurassic era. You know what I'm saying? Fucking
bro,
alligator.
We play too much, bro. we need to stay in our lane, bro. Yeah. We need to stay in our lane.
Motherfuckers just want pets and shit. Like, man, like there's people with these monkeys. Like Joe Rogan's got a fear of monkeys. He's like, that's the only thing that fucking scares me on this planet. Because he's like, even the little monkeys are like 10 times stronger than you are. You know what I'm saying? They have this enormous amount of strength, and they could just rip your fucking skull off. Like, there's a video that he showed, and there's a monkey. He was just chilling with him, you know. There's a bunch of them around him, and there's just a little fucking monkey, and he fucking ended up peeling this dude's fucking skull back, bro. Just like quick, like
Rip it off.
just with his teeth, real quick, peeled his skin back. You know what I'm saying? Like just that incident. That was a little ass monkey.
Damn, bro.
And can you imagine like a bamboo or a chimpanzee or something, or even a gorilla just fucking rip you apart, bro?
Yeah, bro. Nah, I'm good,
You know
bro.
what I'm saying? That's just crazy, man. Well, shit, bro. I appreciate you coming on, man. We've been talking for 2 hours, man.
Have we really? Yeah, bro. I could do that, bro. I could talk for a lot. About a lot of shit, bro. And we just touched the surface there, bro. So, but no, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, love. Appreciate you coming on the vibration with me. The guy brought some goodies to bring through. Mojo's 420, man. Find him on IG.
Yeah, it's Mojo's _420, and then our other page is Aim Higher _Inc. That's INC.
Tap in. The message you got right here, aim higher is more than a slogan. It's a philosophy that applies to all aspects of life. It is a mentally that it drives. It is a mentally that
Mentality.
It is a mentality. My bad. It is a mentality that drives a lifestyle. It is a message, a reminder to be better, do better, live better. Wherever you go, wherever you do, aim higher. Man. I just took I took one of those Starbursts and one of those things, and I'm fucking flying right now. Aim high right now. Yeah, man.
Oh, well, yeah, just definitely make sure you try that next time you have some coffee. Oh, okay. Shout out to Monica. You coming out here next time. We're going to get you to talk. We're going to get you to say something out here. And to the cannabis community as a whole, man, everybody that I've had an opportunity to collaborate to kind of get me to this point, right? So shout out to Up Elevated, Spliff Society, Vape and Prop, Kristen over there, always showing me love. And Uncle Stu's out there in Cary, Illinois, always down to support our events and collaborate with us. They got a great shop out there where they make some of their own glass, so shout out to them. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, man, tapping in with me, having a conversation, bro. Definitely gave me some enlightenment on my own part. You know what I'm saying? I'm grateful that we can probably share some currency this summer on our veggie growth.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah, for sure, bro.
And man, appreciate the gifts. Much love, man. Appreciate you, bro.
All right, thank you, man.
No problem.
Have a good one.